Good evening, everyone. It's approximately 5:30 p.m. on Monday, February 28th, 2022. I see we have all members of the Board of Finance in attendance tonight, except for Mr. Moulton, who had a prior engagement for this evening and will not be in attendance. We will start tonight's meeting with the regular meeting of the Board of Finance. And then once that meeting's concluded, we'll go immediately out of recess and back onto the Board of Finance budget meetings for the 2022-2023 fiscal years. So at this point, I would like to call the meeting to order, the regular meeting of the Board of Finance. Call the meeting to order. It's a roll call. All members are present except for Mr. Moulton. Is there a consideration of minutes of the regular meeting of January 31st, 2022?
I'll make a motion for consideration of minutes of regular meeting 1/31/22.
I'll second.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded?
Yeah.
Sorry, just turning up my volume. Yeah. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I have no correspondence. And if there's no correspondence, we'll move on to item 5, new business. Is there a motion for the first memo transfer?
Sorry, I'll make a motion for consideration of budget memo transfer number 5, Fund 1005, fiscal year 22.
Okay, there's a motion to approve transfer number 5. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Is there a discussion on the motion? I do see we have the mayor and the finance director present. I assume this is as a result of the finalization of the contract. So that was done and recently, and then tracking the wages for the non-reps.
Yeah, so within the last 7-8 months, the fire union contract settled, the MSA, Municipal Supervisors Association, settled, and when the Municipal Supervisors Association settled, there are U2 ordinances for non-rep folks that the Board of Aldermen passed an ordinance to adjust their wages in accordance with the MSA settlement. Those adjustments were made, and as you know, in the back of the budget, there is a section for salary reserve that incorporates that. That's what this transfer relates to. Peter can give you more explanation, but that's for those non-rep salaries and the adjustments associated with it.
Thank you. And I think we touched upon this at a meeting earlier last week. I think Scott had brought it up that the salaries reflected in the new budget account for the adjustments that we're transferring now tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Any further discussion?
Good.
Comments? Okay, there's a motion on the floor and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay.
Ready? I'll make a motion for consideration of budget memo transfer number 6, Fund 1005, fiscal year 22.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion to approve budget memo transfer number 6. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Any staff report this evening?
No update at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Well, at this point, well, I don't know if we necessarily need to adjourn our meeting. We'll just go into, well, we could adjourn the regular meeting for February 28th. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting for February 28th, 2020.
All those in favor? Are there a second? Sorry. Gray, seconded?
Sure. Second.
All right. So a motion is to adjourn the regular meeting of the Board of Finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll come out of recess and reconvene the Board of Finance budget hearings for the 2022-2023 budget. Today is February 28th, approximately 5:36. And we have a few items on the agenda tonight. I believe Department of Land Use and Permanent and Land Use was continued or not continued, but rescheduled for this evening. Is anyone here for the Department of Land Use? Kent.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's me, Joe Griffith.
Good.
May I
Thank
start?
you. I should need to scroll through. Welcome, Joe.
Good evening.
And this is-
First of all, thank you for letting me reschedule this.
Not a problem. Anytime. This is on page 27.
Yes.
Okay, if you'd like to make a statement, you're certainly welcome to.
Very briefly, our budget is reflects about a $20,000 increase over last year. That's a net increase. The increases are primarily a reflection of increases in union or whatever contractual increases in payroll. And so beyond that, we've been maintaining the individual line items similar to the previous years. You'll notice that we've consolidated the individual budget line items into the DPLU office. So office supplies, travel expenses, that type of thing are all covered under DPLU. Items that are specific to individual offices, such as things like the illegal or dangerous building funds, that remains under the building department or the building office. The items such as the legal notices for the planning and zoning board of the inland wetlands, those are still specific to those offices for tracking. But beyond that, our expenses are continue to be consolidated under the DPLU office. Beyond that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. I guess my one question is, how is your staffing at this point? Are you fully staffed? Do you have any vacancies?
We have 2 vacancies. We are continue to be short a building inspector, and we recently have an open or a vacancy for the clerical position for the planning office.
Thank you. Do you anticipate difficulty filling the building inspector position?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been open for over a year, yeah, I think the bottom line is we need to have some discussions about the salaries that we're offering the building inspector position.
Well, that's good for the alderman. Okay, thank you, Mr. Griffith. Any members of the board have any questions or comments on DPLU?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
The seasonal temporary, what is that?
That's a line item where we will, again, if we are short a building official, or if we have, goes back to when we had the storms hit, when we need to hire temporary staff through outside agencies, employment agencies, or through independent contractors, we will use that line item.
To do what?
To specifically provide, I guess it would be labor services, but for instance, we used it, our inland wetlands officer was absent for an extended period last year, and we hired a consultant, an engineer to serve in a temporary position to serve in her capacity for the city over the course of and it wasn't over the course of 3 weeks. It was for an interim period during those 3 weeks.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
No problem.
Anything further? All right.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I guess I also need to touch base on the zoning board of appeals budget, which is also under our direction. But and again, that's pretty basic. We're carrying a line item for our legal notices through the newspaper. Again, similar to the other agents or the other offices. We had been able to just post our notices online, which was nice and frankly very inexpensive, but now we're back to putting ads in the newspapers. So that's our ZBA budget.
Thank you for the follow-up.
No problem. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Move on to page 24, Law Department, and just for the record, I do not vote on recuse myself from voting on this line item or department. And
Good evening, everyone. Really, no changes from our department. The only thing I think you'll note, there's a slight change in the wages, but I think just for the non-rep position. That's a reflection of the MSA. My position follows MSA, which was just resolved. So non-reps under the U2 ordinance follow that, but that's the only change by ordinance. The remainder of the budget positions fall within the town hall union, and we're currently in negotiations. So their salaries remain the same, but they are likely to increase if history is prologue. But in terms of operational expenses and capital outlays, those remain identical. Although we always put in for computer requests, and the mayor always finds a way to get us the most up-to-date technology, but not through our own budget. If anybody has any questions, be happy to take them.
Good.
okay, thank you. If there's no questions, we'll move on to page 16, MGAT.
Mr. Chair, if I could trouble you, is the Ethics Commission?
Well, we have a new procedure this year where we're not really addressing items that have a budget for less than a couple $1,000. So
And I'm excused.
we're moving on. So
Fantastic.
you're off the hook.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to MGAT, page 16.
My name is Kara Flannery. I'm here to represent the Milford Government Access Television Committee and our budget for the coming year. We've asked for a slight increase over last year, mainly because we've it's an increase of $1,225. The bulk of our expenses go towards labor on the city line. We've had a budget, so we did not spend all our money last year, partially because we had some staffing issues. We were unable to really find the help that we needed during the pandemic, but now we are at a full staff. We've organized our team based on their skills and abilities. We have a technical director who is now doing an amazing job helping us troubleshoot through some technical issues that were kind of dogging us for longer periods of time than they should have. And we also have a new managing producer who is really helping us with the day-to-day operations. So this budget really represents what we're going to be at like full capacity moving forward. And they have been part of our team since December, and already we've seen an amazing change in just our ability to serve the city. We've added, now we're covering all of the meetings at the Department of Permitting and Land Use, streaming. We've added inland wetlands, planning and zoning, zoning board of appeals, just trying to make sure this content is available to people in Milford. So this really represents what we are hoping to do in the coming year.
So thank you, Kara, for the hard work. Is any questions or comments for MGAT?
Good.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, page 79, Health Department.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome to make a statement if you'd like.
Sure. In terms of the health department budget, so we are not requesting any changes at this point. It's just flat. Typically, I would come to you with a little bit of a presentation. So I'll just share a little bit of, we continue to be sort of immersed in COVID, but also managing our routine public health activities. So throughout the pandemic, we fairly recently, over the past few weeks, went over the 10,000 confirmed case mark in Milford from the start of the pandemic. And so we are continuing to manage those cases with contact tracing, mass vaccination efforts, testing efforts, as well as enforcement. And so we're right at the point right now where we are transitioning into more of a routine response model rather than an emergency response model, sort of acknowledging that this virus will be with us for a bit longer. So we continue to do that work as well as our routine work in the areas of environmental health, public health nursing, preparedness, and community health. But I'm happy to take questions on the general health department budget.
Hey, Deepa, how are you?
Good.
I know last year we added in the deputy director. Is that right? And how's that? Did we hire? And
We are currently recruiting for that position.
Okay.
We have not been able to hire yet into that position, but the job is posted.
Got it.
So is it listed on the budget?
Yes,
see
it's part of
Director of Nursing, Chief Environmental Services is
On page 18, 81, it's on the bottom of the salary or budget.
Oh, okay, yep. Thank you.
Lauren stole my question.
Are all your other positions filled? And
Yeah.
So on the health department side, yes. On the nursing side, which is the next budget we'll cover, we do still have a nursing vacancy. Our positions tend to be a bit more difficult to fill due to the requirements. And right now, over the past few years, there's just definitely been a shortage. And, we're trying to make our package as competitive as possible, but it is definitely a challenge to hire into our nursing positions. We just hired a sanitarian who started with us last week on the health department side. And again, the deputy position, these are all positions that are a bit harder to recruit for than they have been in the past.
Thank you. Well, we'll actually, page 95 are the nurse education, health services, school nurses. I'm sorry, is that where you said you had vacancies in those positions?
We do have one vacancy. We were fully staffed for about 2 weeks, and then we have another vacancy. So out of the 20 nursing positions, we have 19 filled and currently recruiting for the last one. And on the nursing budget, the only change is we have an increase in the seasonal temp line, and that's just due to the minimum wage requirements.
Thank you. Oh, this may be a question for either the health department or the mayor. Are there any specific grants that we've received for the health department? Are they citywide or both or?
Yeah, the health department has received this past fiscal year. We have been managing a little over $500,000 in grant funding. So those grants are, most of them come specifically from the state health department or through, God bless you, through the CDC. And so this year, especially due to the COVID response, we did receive some additional state grant funding to support the response effort. So past fiscal year, a little of $506,000 in grant funding.
Thank you.
And in addition to that, we've received FEMA monies. I don't know if Deepa was counting that within the $500,000. Towards the efforts of the health department, we've received CARES Act monies. We've received some other federal COVID response grants, including ARPA money.
So that 500,000 did not include any of those funds that the mayor just included.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, thank you for your time.
I think I have one more, the human services budget.
Oh, you're doing human services, page 90, Milford HSD agency, page 90.
Budget also is remaining flat, the request, and the majority of the human services budget is salary and fringe. And then at Human Services, we also do have a number of grants that come in to support the programs that we do, including emergency rent assistance, emergency food assistance, utility assistance. And that is through federal funds, through the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, as well as community development block grant funding and private donations as well to support those programs. So this past fiscal year in grant funding, Human Services was managing a little over $100,000 in grant funding to support, again, that's direct assistance that goes to our residents. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you, Deepa.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving right along. Page 88, Borough of Woodmont. I think I saw Mr. Benessi.
Yeah, I'm here. Just had to find my mute button and my screen button.
Yes, welcome.
Button.
How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, well, good. I can't believe we're doing this again virtual this year, but it is what it is. It's the new normal, unfortunately. So yes, Ed Bonessi, Borough of Woodmont, and down in my lower left-hand part of the screen is Kit Schmeiser, who is our finance Burgess, who helps me along with this. We're looking for a 0% increase from last year, and just wanted to know if there were any questions. I think everybody on the board is this their first year? Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, it's no one on the board is their first year, right?
Yes, we have Megan Smith is new to the board.
Okay.
Then you shouldn't have admitted that. You shouldn't have admitted that, because now Ed's going to feel compelled to go through the history of the borough. So
I'm gonna have to. I'm sorry.
Well, I think
Megan,
I think Megan may come from the other borough known as what do we call it down there, Laurel Beach. So
yeah, it's not a borough
you
though.
guys can compare.
see, that's why he's going to have to educate her.
Okay. We are the borough of Woodmont, not the borough of Manhattan, but that is the best example. There are 6 boroughs, I believe, in the state of Connecticut. There are only 4 that are active. The borough of Woodmont happens to be one of them. We are a municipality within a municipality. Over the years, we've done more, we've done less. We provide the public works, excuse me, for the 6 miles of roadway. My job is an elected position. I'm the warden. I've been on the board for close to 30 years. I've been warden for 13 years. But more exactly, I am like the assistant public works director for the 6 miles of roadway over here. I work, excuse me, closely with Chris Saley, and the Public Works Department. We have outside contractors that do everything. We have no employees in the borough. I get paid $1 a year for the job. The borough hall and the borough facilities and the salaries, my $1 salary does not come out of Milford taxpayer funding. That's a separate tax that we actually have, which I believe is a 0.85 mil, which we put into various beautification projects. The main amount of our money goes to street paving, street cleaning, storm drains, public area cleanup, storm cleanup, because we're all shoreline in Woodmont. Jimmy Malico is constantly along Beach Avenue cleaning up after storms. And it just seems to be with global warming and climate change and the higher tides, it seems like we're out there constantly doing this. And we're very fortunate to have Jimmy as the main public works contractor. We have a few other contractors that we work with, but we do, like I said, snow plowing, salting, street paving, storm drains, grounds maintenance, that sort of a thing, on all of the streets in the borough and the park areas, with the exception of Truby Doolittle Park. Truby is city owned, but we do tend to share expenses when projects do need to be done there. We work hand in hand, work with the mayor's office with storm cleanup, with regarding to Irene and Sandy and all the other catastrophic events. The borough usually gets its fair share of abuse from nor'easters and that sort of a thing. And that's pretty much it. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has about our budget request.
Well, thank you for the presentation. I just have a quick question. It's just, was the borough able to obtain any COVID relief funds, or was that a little bit out of your?
Well, we actually did. We did get a check. We have put it into a separate account because Burgess Schmeizer's other job, in case you don't know it, is he's a DOJ prosecutor. And he said it would be very embarrassing for me to have to take you out of the borough hall in handcuffs. So he is making sure that what we will spend the money on will be allowable within the limits. John Barrett, who is our senior Burgess, has been in touch with a number of people. What we are planning on spending the money on is a project that has long been requirement by DEP or DEEP, but an unfunded program, which is stormwater.
Right.
John has been researching that, and we were hoping to be able to retrofit all of our outflows into Long Island Sound. I always thought there were 13. Now John's saying that there's more than 20. So we're in the process of trying to figure out exactly how many we have, what the sizes are, whether the final catch basins are deep enough to accept these contraptions, widgets, whatever you want to call them. John is more up on it than I am. The other amount that we would like to try to spend money on is trying to make the Belmont Street groin, which was a city project in 1978. It was designed and paid for by the city. John Casey was the city engineer at the time, but it has outlived its usefulness, and the cost for repairing it and is one of those things that just keep getting kicked down the road. What we're trying to do is we're trying to use some of that money because it's part of the stormwater drainage system. If we can at least hire a company that specializes in doing that type of marine work, we would like to use the money to pay for not the project, but the design of the project.
Right.
The design of the project is easily going to run into the tens of thousands of dollars, and neither the city nor the borough has been able to come up with that. And it's been something that people have brought to our attention many times. And the plan would be is if we can have this as a shovel-ready project, the next time there's emergency money available, we would have it ready for them. There will be another catastrophic event. It's just a matter
Unfortunately,
of time.
it's only a matter of time.
Unfortunately, right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Benessi. Any further questions or comments?
Okay.
Hey, thank you for your time. Thank
You guys all know how to get a hold of me.
Yes.
Have a
Mr.
good night.
Chairman?
Thank you.
Okay, so
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out
Yes,
that recreation, they are online. It looks like they may have been missed. I just don't want them to be.
oh, I did miss recreation. Sorry about that. I'll
Bye-bye.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, that was good to learn about the borough, though. So I appreciate that. That worked out for me.
sorry, Bill. No offense. I skipped right over you.
That's okay. Like, one
Thank
door
you.
closes, one opens. Now I have all that info when I go walking at the borough next.
That's right.
I'm ready to go.
Well, as you can probably tell, if you'd like to make a statement, please do. This is page 82.
I seem to always get to follow up the award-winning performances. Recreation just wants to thank the mayor's office and Peter for constantly working with us and helping us pull this budget off. We have very minimal increases, and it's pretty much the same budget as the year past. Here for any questions, but again, we're pretty much the same budget across the board.
Thank you, Mr. Garfield. Okay. Any questions? No, I just more generic. As far as Eisenhower Park goes, is that under your jurisdiction, so to speak, as far as those operations at the park?
When you say operations, are you talking the courts and water park and things like that? Or are you talking the trails?
Well, I guess both, really. I would assume the tennis courts and the splash park or splash area is under your supervision, but is the entire park part of your jurisdiction as well?
Jeremy Grant with the open space is involved with all the trails, things like that. We're working with him on a couple projects right now. So I would probably say joint effort, and obviously we get Public Works involved when any
Right.
work needs to be done on those trails.
Is there any talk about making some improvements to those trails as far as either for, single track bicycles or walking there? And I haven't been through the park in a few years, but my recollection was most of them are in pretty rough shape.
There has been talk. I'm hoping it's coming down the pike. We've got a long list of hopeful projects that are going to get underway in the near future.
And Mr. Chairman, there has been a lot of work on the trails just this last year.
Okay.
We did a lot of renovation of the trails, flattening wood chips, doing tree work, applying wood chips for cross-country races, for trail biking, things like that within the last year. But there are some plans through ARPA money to rehab Eisenhower Park. One of the peculiarities of Eisenhower Park is half of it is controlled by the Park Beach and Rec Commission. Half of it is controlled by a subcommittee of the Board of Aldermen. This goes back decades and decades and decades. But the Public Safety Committee of the Board of Aldermen is actually charged with overseeing a portion of the park. So for example, anytime that the lower park is used for certain events, if the Boy Scouts want to have a jamboree, the chairperson of the Board of Aldermen's Public Safety Committee has to sign off on that. Or if the Model Airplane Flying Club wants to have an event, it's the Board of Aldermen's Public Safety Committee.
Right.
But for the majority of the recreation activities in the portion of the park that most people utilize, it is the Park Beach and Rec Commission and the Recreation Department.
Thank you. And then, because for instance, Solomon Woods, in that vicinity of the park, I mean, the walking trails are pretty well marked, and as I said, but I'll have to try Eisenhower again because it hasn't. Hopefully, they're more usable because it's a great asset, and I'd love to. I mean, obviously, the park, the splash park, and the courts have all been improved, and it looked great. But it's a lot of land. It'd be nice to be able to use some more, passive recreation, so to speak, the remainder of the park. So glad to hear there's plans. Anything further from the board? Comments, questions? Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bill. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, last but not least, Boys and Girls Club, page 92.
Hi there.
Hi, Megan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
That's good. So the Boys and Girls Club has had another fun, crazy, and busy year. Last year we served 633 kids, which is a 24% increase over the previous year. It has brought us back to our pre-pandemic numbers, and we currently have 62 kids on our waiting list, which is why we are requesting an increase again, because we just are continually serving more kids year after year.
Excellent. It's great to see you doing so well and being so active in the community. It's important.
Thank you.
So I'll ask Scott.
sorry, go.
How much of the grant is your budget? A percentage of your budget?
Our budget is just over $1 million, so it's, what is that, less than 10%?
9.5. Thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing further, I think we made record time tonight, regular meeting and budget meeting, all in less than 45 minutes. And we will, if there's nothing further for tonight's agenda, from the mayor, from Peter, and I don't think there's anything further on our list. So we will recess and reconvene on Wednesday, March 2nd, and address the Board of Education operations. So can I have a motion for recess?
I'll make a motion to recess until March 2nd, 2022.
So moved, and or second from Ray.
I'll
Yes.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? All right, we'll recess until March 2nd. Thank you all for your time.
Mhm.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a
night.
good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.